Over the past couple months, BDO's been in a serious state of decline. A lot of players are just fed up with the devs and the direction they're taking the game. Not to say the game's completely dead, but it's definitely not looking good. The game turned into a grind simulator and the grind spots are just being rehashed. Open world PvP's been exiled and they're doubling down on their greedy monetizations. They did some good, adding the party boss rush content, and let's be real though, LOML 2 should have came out 2 to 3 months after LOML 1. Back then we had a massive resurgence of players into BDO because Lost Ark was in the same situation BDO is in right now. However, due to some criticisms PA received at that time, they took drastic measures in the wrong direction and seriously devalued the experience of the existing player base. And I'm referring to the whole PvP debacle back in 2023. They did three nasty changes, and the first one was they removed single-sided guild declarations of war. Second, they changed Marnie Realm to refresh every other hour, so you have literally like 11 hours a day or something. And lastly, the worst of all, they made Karma a family-wide penalty, and it was just a lot more difficult when you went red. Now, Guild Wars, they could have really done it in a different way. They could have said, hey, as a guild, you have to flag up for PvP or no PvP. If you flagged up for PvP, you got a 5% item drop rate across the guild, and you could be decked on by other guilds without a mutual declaration. If you declared no, then it had to be mutual. It would have been that simple. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but that would have worked well, right? And honestly, they didn't need to go this such a drastic direction. And 100%, they were completely off the mark and were not using their brains at all. Literally, one of these changes would have been sufficient to alleviate the issue that new players were whining they couldn't play the game because they were getting griefed in open world. But the reality is that was such a rare thing to happen. How many people actually went and got griefed so hard that they couldn't play at all? They probably got killed off a certain grind spot because someone else wanted to take it. But that's the law of nature. I mean, the dominant player won, and you could fight back, you can grief him back or whatever, but there were ways around it. You could just switch servers. You can just go to Marnie Realm or something. I know situations like some streamers like Canon and Brobear, they had it really bad. They had like a small guild that was actually chasing them across servers, and every time they streamed, they would grief them. But that was such a individual issue and such a rare thing to actually happen to that extent. And they even went and removed black robing after a while because, they felt the situation got bad. But honestly, they should have handled those cases as individual cases. They should have went after the people who were causing those kind of excessive situations and not punish the entire game. I highly doubt it was a widespread problem. Me as a streamer and YouTuber, I probably got griefed like twice. And it wasn't even because I was a streamer or something. Someone just wanted to fight. I just had to change channels and I was good. There was a time I probably got stream sniped. I do remember that, but once again, change servers, I'm good. Now I know players have different experiences, but the reality is they did not need to make such drastic changes to this extent. One of those changes would have been sufficient. That Marnie Realm change would have been sufficient. I can only think of one reason they did go down this route. Greed. Now hear me out. They were convinced that now they found the formula to bring in new players to the game, right? Players who'd spend money and not complain about the existing systems, while replacing these whiny bitches of old players who like rarely ever spend any money and would grind all day for their silver and buy their gear, or just play it like it was a free-to-play game or something. Yeah, screw those guys. We want the new guys in who are more favorable to our monetization. They thought they got the bag, but they're just greedy. Instead of doing all that, they should have addressed the issue in a more delicate manner without antagonizing an entire section of the player base. And of course, new players were going to have it rough, but new players would have quit anyway. When a new game comes out or a game gets hyped up, a lot of players come in and a lot of players will leave after. Some players will stay. The reality is it's really difficult to convince someone to play an MMORPG, let alone an anti-social MMORPG like BDO, let alone a pay-to-win game like BDO, which its cash up is literally vomit. But BDO's in the same position Lost Ark was last year, and now Throne and Liberty is the new home of the BDO refugees for the next month or two. And of course, a lot of people will quit that too. It's an MMORPG. We don't owe any game company loyalty. They owe us everything. We made their game the success it is. We're the ones who pay the bills for them. Making dipshit moves and making changes like this is just asking to let your game die. and it's your golden goose. Why are you going to do that? Why not make good changes? Why delete content? Why don't you cater to everyone like you want to without antagonizing a group of players? I honestly don't think it's that hard, but you know, what do I know? I'm not a developer of some Korean grind game, right? So, but they really dropped the ball with their greed and back-to-back updates of terrible things. Like, I was node warring a few months ago. I'm not talking out of my ass right here. I'm actually talking from experience. I was running with Statistic. Hunter's a buddy of mine, and I was running with them. Like, I had fun for a few weeks, but it really sucked going into tier 1, getting stomped by Cho. Cho's gone, but the game system hasn't changed. And I saw the devs' new commentary that they were gonna bring back the old system and let like the dominant guild, the previous winner, choose the new system. It's whatever, dude. Like, how slow do you have to be to react to bad situations? Like, you're asking for the game to die at that point. Like, seriously, Pearl Abyss knows how to pull an L out of the jaws of victory. Like, the most dedicated and loyal players you're going to find in this game are the end game players, the end game PvP players. And I understand there's others too. Like, there's a lot of life skillers who are very dedicated to the game and whatnot, and casual players that are just as important as everyone else. But you know, it feels like the PvPers are getting the boot a lot of times. Let's talk about when they released LOML 2, right? They released some fun content with it. I'll give credit where it's due. The boss rush, I like it. Party boss rush, I like it. I think it's decent content, but it wasn't worth receiving those bits of content at the expense of everything else, at the expense of losing PvP. It wasn't an equal trade in my opinion. And LOML 2, it's not worthy of being called the biggest content drop for BDO in a single calendar year. Like, what the hell? The kind of content they added in, it's less than a mini patch from World of Warcraft. And, you know, the kind of backing Pearl Abyss has, the kind of revenue they generate, they're not a small company. They're not a small indie company. They are AAA with massive resources. They're just using them poorly. And I'm sick of the systems, man. The enhancement system, the greedy cronstone system. Yes, they finally gave us the pity system. I mean, they got a small W there, but how many years late was that? Imagine if they gave that system 3-4 years ago, the game would have been in a much better state. Like, seriously, just pity system. I mean, the guys are already tapping 20, 30 times, 50 times in some cases to get a success. Like, it took them that long to give that? They only gave that because they had such a bad backlash. We all know that. If they didn't receive that kind of backlash and criticism, they would never have relented. But the Cronstone system, it's their biggest monetization, and seriously, fuck off. I do not want to sit in a spot for 50 hours, 60 hours, 100 hours to grind for one item, let alone struggle to accumulate cronstones by pre-ordering costumes or even buying it from the vendor. It's expensive as hell. My time is worth exponentially more, so is yours. They demand way too much time to gear up. And people will say, if everyone got gear, they're just gonna quit the game, but there's nothing to do. Then add stuff to do. Add content. This isn't content. Grind spots aren't content. New pieces of gear aren't content. Boss Rush was content. Guild League was content. AOS was content. Add more of it. Don't delete what we already have. If we have something good, don't touch it. Fucking don't touch it. You do that too many times. And what the hell is the point of gear anyway? To grind faster silver? Like, seriously, what am I using the gear for? Am I going to a new pinnacle PvE spot that I couldn't go to before? No. Am I going to do open world PvP? Where? Like, most content is capped content now. I mean, I wanted capped content, but not at the expense of losing what we already had. Not at the expense of losing stacked tier 3 node wars or open world PvP or guild wars. Like, now what am I going to do with that gear? What's the point of me even going and grinding for so many hours? And the biggest insensitive fuck you from them was their recent dev blog or whatever it was. They said they accidentally made deck sovereign weapons too easy to get, and that they didn't intend for us to get them so quickly, and that they'll never make the same mistake again. Like, are they high? Like, are they seriously going to office high? Like, do they actually think we're upset by that? Like, then they proceed to tease even more cron sinks that they're planning to add next in the form of accessories or whatever. Like, do they actually sincerely believe that's what players want? Like, talk about being out of touch to that extent. I still believe the game can redeem itself and recover, but not under the current leadership and the creative team. The reality is they need someone with my kind of experience in both hardcore and casual formats of the game, in all formats of MMORPGs, PvP, PvE, and life skilling. I think it's time to make a change, PA. I'm ready to take over and be the creative lead for BDO and save the game from ruin. So send me the contract and we'll get started. Kidding, but did you guys see the thing with Dosa though? Dosa's awakening. He smokes so much pipe that he thinks he's a wizard. Don't even get me started on that. Like, he had a cool looking class that, you know, was pretty decently fun to play. And then you do this. Like, did we need another awakening wizard? Like, we already got one. He's pretty good, right? Like, what the hell? It could have been like some badass dual wielding ghost blader or something, but no. He's a wizard. He's a wizard. Guys, let me know in the comment section down below what your thoughts are, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Check me out at twitch.tv/I'mPansy, and be sure to share my video with your friends and on Discord. Catch you guys next time.